Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about a very special herb that I grow in my garden, and it is one of my favorite. And I grow this every year, and if you have been following me, you have probably seen this before in some of my videos. But anyway, these are called Peperomia Pellucida. That's the proper name. And this is a tropical herb that can be found wild in many of the warm climate countries. So in South America, you could probably see this grow wild everywhere, and they are very, very popular in Southeast Asia. In Vietnam, they are called rau càng cua, which is crab claw. That's how I got the name. This is a very special herb, and they love to thrive in very warm and sort of wet climate. They don't do too well in full sun, so you're gonna find these usually under shades, under tree, in places where they don't get full sun all day long and where the area is very moist or a little wet. So if you search for these online, you're gonna find a lot of medicinal purposes that these plants have been used in. Many people may not know that these are edible, so they're probably like weeds to a lot of them. But these have been used for medicinal purposes, and in some places they are a delicacy. So you will find many dishes that feature these here. They're very nice and crunchy and tender, and they look like succulent plants because the entire plant is probably made out of water. You see this here, and the leaves are like a heart shape. Right now they look a little yellow. That's because it's getting really cold. These are not plants that can grow in cold climate, so they're starting to wither and die away. In the summer, you're going to see that they're nice, lush, and green. They do take a bit of time to start in the beginning, so once they establish, they can grow really, really large. So this whole entire bush here is one plant. So let me show you. You see, it started out right here in that section, and then it started to spread out and throw all of these different branches out, and then they can actually propagate themselves. So if the branch happen to touch soil or become covered, they will put out roots in that section, and then they'll grow more. So that's usually how they can get additional nutrients, by spreading out and putting themselves on the ground and then grow more roots. So this branch here, you see there, is stuck underground, so it rooted and then it spread out to there, and then that becomes a new bush over here on its own. So that's usually how the plant kind of like grow and spread out, and then it produces little seeds like this right here. The seeds are very, very tiny, and they're attached to these little tentacles here, and when they fall, they will grow where they are. So if the conditions right, you will see little plants all over the place. So they could be invasive if you leave them untreated, or you live in an area where there is always nice and warm and moist. They will just grow all over the place like weeds. But in the cooler area, they'll just die. You see there, all those little tiny plants, those are what came from the seeds that dropped. So as I mentioned, they're mainly made out of water because the entire plant is just like this, like a succulent. They're very easy to tend to, as long as you don't let them burn in the sun. However, I have grown them in full sun in Texas under 100 degrees Fahrenheit and maybe even higher, and they did grow just fine. But that is not the ideal condition. They do like more tropical, like if you can mimic the tropical areas, like under 85 degrees, from 75 degrees to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, they would do the best. Seeds can be collected by just pulling these little tentacles here, and then the seeds would just drop. Or you can watch my previous video on how I collect a bunch of seeds at the same time. It's much easier that way. Just throw the whole thing in a colander, wash it, the seeds would drop, and then you can collect it that way. And some very special characteristics of these herbs are that they are very resilient to pests. I have not seen any kind of pest that would eat these things. So most of the time when you grow them, you're not going to experience anything because I haven't seen it. The leaves are always nice, green, round, shiny, very beautiful, succulent type, and there's no holes in them ever that I have seen, and they grow fast once they establish, and they can spread out all over the place. So one plant like this here, if you allow them to spread out, you're gonna have herbs like throughout the summer. So there you have it, guys. That is the Peperomia Pellucida. It's a very interesting herb. If you have not grown this before, I recommend you check them out and read up on some of the articles that have been written about these stuff. You're gonna find these very, very interesting. So it's a tropical herb. They could be considered weeds in certain areas. They love moisture and love to grow in shade. So if you can provide that condition for them, they will do very well. And make sure you grow them in a contained area if you live in the tropic. That way they don't spread out everywhere and just grow all over the place. But because they're very soft and tender, I mean, you can step on them, mow the grass, and they're just gone. So it's not a big deal. And then they'll just die in the winter time if you live in places where they're really cold or below certain temperature that they can't survive, and they'll just die. But the seeds will overwinter and they can grow again once it's warm. So they will come back. But you can also collect seeds and grow them. Anyway, that is some fun facts about this herb. And if you happen to check them out and find more information that is more interesting, please let me know. And thank you for watching.